Hey everybody, Jen Hatmaker here, your host of the For the Love podcast. Welcome to the show. So right now, we are in a series called The Love of Flipping the Script. If you've been following along, the team and I really wanted to explore the idea of change. And we wanted to talk to people who had wisdom to offer us here. So some of our guests in this series have flipped a script on purpose. They've chosen something. They've made a hard right or a hard left. They've decided to go a different direction. And then some of our guests have had the script flipped for them. Change came to them. It wasn't necessarily something that they chose or expected or were prepared for. And yet they still had to figure out what to do with change. Both of these paradigms are important because they're going to happen to every one of us. We are going to choose change and have to figure that out, and change is going to choose us, and we're going to have to figure that out. And so we just felt like there's a wisdom right now to harness as we are emerging from the pandemic, as so many of us have undergone changes this year, and we're still facing more. And so I don't exactly know where you are on that. If you are undergoing an evolution, maybe right now, maybe it's something about a dream that you are finally prepared to start realizing, that you're going to begin to put your hands to it, start to give it a little life. I know for people around my age, this really starts to happen to us about right now. I think it's that sense like, you know what, I'm about halfway through here. Like, this is it. This is what we get. This is our life. And we're examining this idea I think that a lot of us get stuck in, which is, I don't have any choices, right? Like, this is just what I have. This part of my life that's out of alignment, it's just what it is. I can't fix it. I can't change it. Or this part of my life, it's dependent on somebody else and I can't change them or get them to change their mind. So I'm just stuck here. I'm stuck with this thing that I have. And more and more and more, I am learning that's not true. Even when things do happen to us, even when we are on the receiving end of somebody else's choices or decisions or words or actions, we're still not just stuck with some inevitable result. We still get to decide what we are going to do with that. And so I think this idea of being empowered inside change is really what I'm interested in right now. This is what I'm feeling curious about. Like, how can we overcome the obstacles that are basically bedfellows with change, which is, fear or insecurity or just a general disorientation. And I'm thinking particularly today, in today's episode, about some of you who are having a little bit of a script flipped in your life because of health, a diagnosis, some sort of like body or wellness journey that you are now on, probably unchosen, that's unexpected, what that means in our lives. I mean, none of us are unfamiliar with this. If it hasn't been our own physical health, it's been somebody that we love. Somebody who got a diagnosis we weren't ready for, that felt too soon, too scary. This is a conversation that affects really all of us. I can tell you personally, and I told my incredible guest this during the course of our conversation, but after this year for me, which has been so full of loss and upheaval and just the end of something that I thought was forever, which was my marriage. Talk about a script that I had written a certain way all the way to the end, and it got cut off in midstream. And so as a result, one of the changes that I had experienced has been health. I've talked pretty openly about this, but it became pretty clear over the course of this last calendar year that my body was in trouble. and it had just done all it could do. And I had triaged my own health as long as I could, attending to putting out all these other fires and attending to everybody else's needs. And my body just hit a brick wall in terms of blood pressure, in terms of anxiety, which I've really never experienced in earnest. And then it looked a little bit like panic and some panic attacks, which are just, just my body trying to keep me safe. That's all it is my body over responding to trauma. And so I think that our bodies, our health can be a real teacher, even when it's an unwelcome diagnosis or an unwelcome health scare or situation. But in that, it forces us actually to reimagine what our script is and how we want to write it and what we want to add or subtract from our lives. So having said all that, our guest this week, big hearts, big hearts. She knows all about facing uncomfortable moments and ultimately pursuing her path, hers, the one that is hers to walk. So I'm absolutely thrilled to welcome back to the show and our community, Amy Grant. Best, truly the best. I mean, if you grew up like me, you were singing Amy Grant songs into a hairbrush with songs like Love Will Find a Way and Every Heartbeat. Amy was the first really cool female Christian artist who then went on to have nationally known songs and videos. And of course, we all wanted her hair. I literally still want it now. In fact, those of you who are logging in here, you can, of course, just listen to this episode today through your AirPods into your ears. But, we also video all of our interviews. They're over on my YouTube channel. And so just go over and have a look at how incredible Amy looks. She still has that hair that just, I don't know what her tricks are. But sometimes it's really fun to watch our interviews. So you may want to throw that up on your phone or on your laptop to watch our conversation instead of just hear it. But anyway, Amy shot into stardom as a teenager in contemporary Christian music. And then she became the first artist in Christian music to have a platinum record. And then, like I mentioned, went on to become this crossover, just sensation, like a darling of the industry. Amy has earned 6 Grammys, a countless gospel music dub awards, all while having 10 top 40 pop singles, which is an incredible career. I mean, what in the world? So she, of course, has this very beautiful, sweet, blended family with her husband, Vince Gill. No big deal. And if you've ever seen her or talked to her or been in her presence, she just oozes this like quiet, gentle charisma and humility all at once. Again, I urge you just to go pop on the YouTube channel just so you can watch her face and body language and you'll see what I'm saying. Amy is a very committed philanthropist who continuously works to make and build community, and throughout all her life, she's flipped the script in all sorts of ways, iteration after iteration after iteration, in ways that are so guiding for the rest of us watching. And then recently she faced a very major health journey, which is why I was talking about her health, that turned some things upside down for her in some surprising ways just this last calendar year. So she's going to talk about that and more with us today. You guys stay all the way to the end. She saved some of her very best material for last, because when you talk to Amy Grant, she just keeps dropping little wisdom bombs on you. She keeps just saying, this one time, and then all of a sudden it's the most incredible thing you've ever heard. And so stay all the way to the very end and you'll be really, really glad you did. So, I love her. I love her so much. I really can't believe that I get to know Amy Grant. I want to go back and tell Jen in like 1988 you are going to be friends with Amy Grant one day. I would have never believed myself. Lucky me. Lucky all of us to have her in the world. So I'm so pleased to share my conversation with the just endearing, wonderful, beautiful Amy Grant. Absolutely delighted to welcome you back to the show, Amy. I am just always, always, always the happiest girl in the world when I get to see you. Look at you.
That's the kindest welcome.
Oh, I just mean every word of it. You are even more wonderful in person than the way we even imagined all the years in which we like loved you from afar. And so I love when I get to report to people that once I have met our person in person, that they didn't like devastate us. They are just as good as we thought. And that's you.
Thank you.
How are you doing over there as we begin to emerge from this year?
I'm back in rehearsals,
Yeah.
and I'm one of those people that, like, I know 2020 is sort of the year that never happened and the year that changed everything.
Yeah.
But 2020 had a lot of hidden gifts for me.
Can you talk about that a little?
Yes, I think as much as I love work, I'm so grateful that I get to go to work. You know, I think for those of us that don't live out of a suitcase, there's always this kind of fantasy. What if I were home all the time? What would it be like to actually be there?
Sure.
And, you know, really you would feel like you would have to retire to ever have that experience. And but COVID was, I don't know. I mean, it was a gift of being in one place. It was a gift of, not all of it felt like a gift, you know, because a lot of it was just like stewing in our own juices.
That's right.
But it was, I loved it. You know, I had heart surgery.
Yeah.
It was a great time to recuperate.
Yeah.
Because I'd never had that feeling like, oh, the world is just flying past me.
Sure.
I'm going, oh my gosh, like a lot of people are recuperating
Yeah.
from a lot of things worse than this. And we're all just sort of slowly getting our strength back. I love getting to spend extra time with our youngest child. And, you know, I've spaced out mothering about as far as you can. 2 births in my 20s, one in my 30s, one in my 40s.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, we're gonna
you did.
one nanny for 33 years.
Yeah, totally. Job security for her.
Yeah. And anyway, but then for Karina to come back, and we just, you know, Vince, I love him so much. He is so quiet.
Yeah.
And so I'm grateful for girlfriends and all that conversation. But yeah, COVID, I don't know. It just, it was such a gift of being with family.
Amy, this particular series on the show is called Flipping the Script. And I'm talking to amazing people. And it's this idea that in some way, every one of my guests in this series is having to flip a script in some way. So whether it is, some of my guests have chosen to do that. They've decided this is a moment for a new story in my life, and I'm gonna chase it. I'm gonna choose it. And then some of the guests, the script was flipped for them. It wasn't necessarily their choice. It wasn't necessarily what they expected or anticipated, and yet they still found themselves having to navigate a new normal. And it's funny because you easily fit in both categories. You've done a lot of script flipping in your life. I mean, many, many iterations of that evolution. But this last year, if you would be willing to talk about it, I'd like to talk about your health journey, because you mentioned it earlier. You lived through open heart surgery, which is a big new thing, a big news story. It's scary at any time of year, but definitely during COVID, my goodness. I wonder if you could share a little bit about your diagnosis and what your mindset was like, maybe like prior to going into surgery, and then in the weeks following, and what have you and are you continuing to learn here?
Okay. Can I, only because when you said flip the script, the most life-altering experience of flip the script that I ever had actually happened about 10 years ago.
Okay, I'd love to hear it.
Okay, and maybe it was more than that. Maybe it was like 11 years ago.
Okay.
And it was late one night. My Sherry Kitchell, who I love dearly, I was married to her brother for 17
Yeah.
years. She had come to our house. Everybody kind of wanted to spend time with Aunt Sherry because she's just lovely. And it was the very end of the night, and I needed to spend time with her because I had a big cry that needed to come out. But anyway, she's getting ready to leave, and so surprising, she said, I have wanted so much to see your garden at night. Could we just go peek at your garden? And so, I was like, I get time alone with Sherry. And we came out to the garden, and she said, how are you doing? And my parents at that time both had advanced dementia, which did not run in our family. I had hired a couple of caregivers, found out they were drugging my mom and dad.
Gosh.
I mean, there's just such
So horrible.
anyway, all kinds of things happened. My mom had gotten picked up by the police one night, and she was not clothed properly, and like my sister and her husband had moved in with them. It was just like one disaster after another. My father was picked up on another night by a bartender going home, and he was like, you just go,
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
so, but I got, I was like feeling like I had made bad choices for them and not, anyway, all I just remember was cry. And then Sherry said, can I just tell you one thing? And I said, yes. And she said, you just need to look at this as the last great lesson your parents are teaching you.
Gosh.
And she said it's going to be lessons in creativity, lessons in quick recovery, fail quickly, fail frequently, get up and keep walking, laugh at everything. And I just was looking at it like all the things that were changed, all the things that was different, all the loss. Because I was just looking at that they were not who they used to be. And in that one phrase of hers, when she said, it's like suddenly it had purpose.
Wow.
This is the last great lesson your parents will teach you. And I mean, my tears dried up, and I was like, oh, dang, what am I doing right now? I think I'm just wallowing in, I'm failing them, they're failing. And I mean, and that is a conversation that needs to be had sometime, but it's an energy suck.
You're right.
And when she said that, it was like, oh my gosh. And flipping that script was, and it continued to be a long script. My father lived for years after that, but every time it was like, there are hidden gifts in this. And one of them, for my dad, he lost all communication skills by the end. And really no eye contact. And I just remember, because I'm married to a man who's quiet, there are times I used to be like, come on, ask me more questions.
Yeah.
What's up with you? Aren't you curious about what I'm doing?
Sure.
We should be delving into each other's souls anyway. But my dad, I would sit at a little table across from him, and he would like take my hand, like almost as though I was not connected, and he would just rub it and look at my fingers. And then sometimes he would just like move my hand with his. And you know what? I wasn't looking at him going, why aren't you asking me more questions? What's up? Like, I learned the gift of just being there.
That is so precious.
And that continues now. It does. It's like everybody brings different things to the table, and you can't look at somebody that, rapid fire conversation or investigative or deep conversation might not be their comfort zone. But there are other things that are. And I learned that lesson from my dad after he couldn't talk anymore. And so, anyway, and so that whole long journey has just made me realize there are hidden gifts in everything. And don't Don't look way down the road because you really only have enough to get through today, whatever it is. But the surprise of today is the off chance conversation that you have with the person bagging your groceries. And suddenly they're making you laugh about something. And then the person in traffic that let you in and like kind of, I don't know. It's just like you sort of go, hey, we are actually all in this together. Like,
So
you know,
good.
yeah.
I'm so happy that you told that story. And that was, of course, unique to your, and also, yay, Aunt Sherry. Golly, what a little bit of wisdom she just dropped. Thanks for sharing it.
Oh, yeah.
Because and that's unique to you. But as you're talking, my brain is just churning, thinking about how true that has been in my life this last year. You and I were talking before we started recording, but I had a lot of loss this year that I didn't see coming, and I definitely didn't expect. I did not write it into my script.
Right.
But now, a year later, undeniably, I can see how it's been a teacher. And I didn't even know the little hidden gifts that would be in there. I couldn't fathom them. I couldn't even envision them. Everything just felt so like dark and sad. And that was all I was choosing to see as well. So having to sort of practice this mindfulness that you just beautifully described about just what ordinary, beautiful thing is happening in any given day and what remains, what I've learned, what I've discovered, what rose up in me that I didn't know I had. Gifts. Yeah. Gifts.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful perspective change. And I love that for the whole conversation of flipping a script, whether we choose it or it chose us. Either way, we get to really decide how we're going to perceive it and welcome it even, or embrace it, metabolize it into something wonderful. So as always, it's just said something so lovely. I love that. Thanks for that. I'll not forget Aunt Sherry's bit of wisdom there.
Do you ever have those times where you need a break from a work project or chores or social media scrolling, but you want to do something that keeps your mind busy? Or maybe you just have pin-up energy, but you're having to wait in place, like at an appointment, at a kid's practice, in lines at the grocery store. This is what I recommend. Best Fiends. Yes, it's a phone game, and yes, I was skeptical before I downloaded it myself, but I've been playing it for a while now, and it seriously never gets old. There are times where I've wanted to wait for an appointment a little longer so I can finish a level. What in the world? It's one of those games that makes 30 minutes feel like 30 seconds. It's colorful and creative and clever and absolutely free, by the way, to download. Plus, you can play it anywhere, with or without the internet. So if you're anything like me, you're probably wondering what fiends are. Like, what does best fiends even mean? Well, they are these little mythical, mischievous little creatures. But the really fun part about these collectible characters is how you strategically team up with each of them, all based on their special abilities to gain extra points and items to level up. So I'm just telling you, it's whimsical, and that's the fun of it all. It's a little micro escape. Best Fiends releases new challenges, characters, and themes all the time, just to keep you on your toes. So you are never, ever repeating anything when you play. Download the 5-star rated puzzle game, Best Fiends, free today on the App Store or Google Play. That's friends without the R. Best Fiends. You guys, it's been a busy summer, but in some very good ways. I have been doing some home and backyard projects with a little help from some amazing friends. The kids are around. I've taken a few work trips, and last month, you might have seen all my me camp fun in Maine. But here's the thing. The minute you get back from traveling, doesn't it just feel like every single possible thing needs to be done like yesterday? I know you've experienced this. Somehow there are a million errands to run. There are even more meetings, the littles have games, and you need to find the pause button and the easy button. Well, friends, I have one little life hack for you, because it's one thing I've crossed off my list forever: the post office. That little excursion can just drain so many minutes out of your day, and none of us have any time for it. We need solutions and easy buttons, so here's one of mine. Stamps.com. This actually started out as a business thing for me because we shifted to Stamps.com to ship all our adorable Jen Hatmaker book club boxes across the country. But now I use it for literally everything I need to ship out, return, and more. Here's how it works. Stamps.com brings the services of the U.S. Postal Service and UPS right to your laptop. You can mail and ship anytime, anywhere. Letters, packages, any class of mail, you name it. When your mail is ready, you just schedule a pickup or you drop it off. That's it. Not only is this convenient, you pay less, a lot less. With Stamps.com, you get discounts of up to 40% off post office rates and up to 66% off UPS shipping rates. So saving time and saving money, this is an easy decision. Especially for those side hustle Etsy shops I know you have, or if you're working from home and need to mail stuff all the time. Stop wasting time going to the post office and go to Stamps.com instead. There's no risk. And with my promo code, For the Love, you get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in For the Love. That's Stamps.com, promo code For the Love. Never go to the post office again.
Can you, I'm so happy to see you so healthy and well and beautiful after such a major surgery. Were you scared? Were you surprised? How did you begin to put the pieces into place to sort of weather this particular storm?
Well, I would say for the last year, I had noticed some things about my heart that were, I'd kind of, I'll take care of that later. I'll take care of that later.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I don't know, just, we're all used to how we function and anyway, but when I went to the doctor with Vince to get the results of his test, because he was approaching the age his father died. And anyway, Vince loves food. He's not a gym rat,
Sure.
and we kind of both showed up like, what's the doctor going to say?
Totally.
And he was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Vince is one of those people that, he's defying the odds. His arteries are clear, and the doctor just gave him a great report. Anyway.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And then he turned and said, hey, we should check you out. And we were right in the middle of Christmas shows, and I was like,
Sure.
I don't have time. And all I'm thinking is a treadmill test, and that sounds awful to me. Anyway, but then I did the tests, and he came back, as they came in, that looks good, that looks good, that looks good. And then a text, call me as soon as you wake up.
Oh, gosh.
And I called, and
I felt that in my stomach.
Yeah, and he said, we uncovered a birth defect that is incompatible with longevity. And so...
Oh, my gosh. That's how he said it? Ooh.
I mean, I can't remember exactly
That's
how he
pretty
said
scary.
it. But he, and so, yeah, he told Vince, it's fine, catastrophic. And the window, we need to get this fixed, like this year. And so, but the way my mind works is I enjoy being in the day I'm in, and so I didn't really let myself think about it. I had a few tests, but it wasn't until I was using that blue scrub the night before, and I was nervous the day of, but then they came in with that, float away drug. And I just chose to trust the good hands that I was in and the bigger hands. And, at some point I did go, if I don't wake up from this, if this is the end, I am so grateful for this life I've had.
Wow. Gosh.
And I've lost several good friends to different things. But in my mind, all premature deaths. And I remember one of my good friends, she was a musician, Ruth McGinnis, and she got a bad cancer diagnosis. And anyway, but I remember her taking a walk with me one time, and she said, oh my gosh, if I could take everything I have learned from this gift of cancer, if I could put it into a capsule and make you swallow it right here in front of me. And she said, the illness, she said, this is awful, and she would describe in gory detail all the things that she would have to navigate with her body. But she just said, it's changed the way I look at everything. Mm-hmm. Everything is a gift. Everything's a gift. And, the morning she died, I was on my way to sing part of a Disney project from which I was fired because I don't have a Disney princess voice.
Darn it.
But I went to her house that morning and she was just rail thin. Yeah. And I remember she just opened up the blanket on her bed, just her little bare naked self. Mm-hmm. And I just crawled over her and beside her. And, she was such a great friend. Mm. We just hung out. It was like, well, this is how your story goes. Yeah. But she is just so present with me. And she was the first person I ever whispered to months before I pursued a divorce in my first marriage. Yeah. She was the first person that I said, I don't feel at home within myself, within my life. I don't.
What'd she tell you?
I would be making up the script right now. That was a long time ago. But I remember that she would say, she taught me such basic lessons in respect. She was a musician, but I met her because she was a personal trainer. Okay. And so, the first day we worked out, she showed up. I had on sweats. I'd had my third child in 5 years, and I was like, oh, okay. And, we talked about life, and she said, the most important thing is for you to experience a growing respect toward yourself.
I love that.
And she said, being healthy is all about balance. She worked with me in how to stand. I think we did most workouts with a 3-pound weight. Yeah. And she said, this is not about slinging around the big weights. It's about balance in every area. Balance. And then, so we're talking, hours every week. And so by the time I said, I feel unbalanced in parts of my life, and she was just there to be a witness. And, so I think about when she was diagnosed and what her husband said was, this is her journey to walk. And we can come alongside of her and support her every way that we know how, but it's her journey. And that last day when I was with her and she said, I am so tired. Yeah. I'm just ready to be done with this. Yeah. And it was but those messages, every day I wake up and if what hits me in a conversation or in an interaction or is, frustration or helplessness, all of the awareness of our faulty, frail interactions in our country, all the ways that we have failed each other across racial lines, across socioeconomic lines, all those things. And as we just came to terms with that in ourselves, to me that I was just like, well, I have my hands on my own wheel. I can't steer anybody else's opinion. I can't steer anybody else's choices, but I got to own mine. I've got to own mine.
That's right.
And steer my life differently, steer my thoughts differently. And, so...
That's harder than it sounds. It's taken me the majority of my adult life to come to terms with the fact that my hands are on my steering wheel and it's mine to do. It's mine to drive. It's easier. It's lazier. It requires less tension to sort of look externally and just say, well, this is because you did this, or this is because you chose that, or this
I don't like how any of you are driving.
I wish everybody else would drive better. Everybody behave, and, or this happened to me. And sometimes in a lot of ways, that is true. Things do happen to us and we are on the receiving end of other people's choices, to be sure. But then still, at the end of the day, it's still my steering wheel to figure out what to do next and what to do with it and where to go. And When you said earlier to your friend, I feel out of balance in this one area of my life, I've used the term just out of alignment. And so it's still mine to come into alignment, regardless of the reason I was disaligned. And a lot of times it's my own. And I appreciate you saying between your story and your friend's story that sometimes this, like the catalyst for that kind of work and growth and evolution is around our health. That's just true. I mean, I can't count how many stories I hold in my little hands from my own personal people and my big community at large, where something in the health, in a health scare, or even something terminal like cancer is the thing. That is the thing when all of a sudden you see everything differently. You see all of life differently. This last year, I've talked to my community about this, Amy, but this last year was so catastrophically hard and sad. And so I found myself also having health issues for the first time in my life. My doctor's like, you're this blood pressure, it's not sustainable. Like, you're in trouble. This is a dangerous. And I'm like, no, I don't have high blood pressure. He's like, you do have high blood pressure. I'm like, I take it again. I've never had it before. And all this anxiety and fear and panic that has come with it, which is all new to me. I hate every bit of it, but it has taught me something that you just said, which is it is time to respect myself. I just thought I'll just power through because I do that. And I can do that. I've always been able to do that. And my body has finally like held up a stop sign. Like, the buck stops here, girl. Like, you've reached the outer limits of your threshold of what power through means. And I'm grateful sometimes to our bodies for telling us that, for throwing up a roadblock, for saying that your attention has to be redirected right here for a while. And I'm sure you found that to be true. I mean, of course, your recovery happened during COVID, which automatically kind of forced you into a quieter, more still place. But I'd love to hear what else you discovered about essentially being forced into stillness. And you probably had to shut down several avenues and channels and all the things that you juggle and put your hand to. What did that look like to you? Did those decisions come easy? Did you know right away, all this gets triaged? These are the things I'll delegate, and these are the things I hold? Or did you kind of have to pick your way through that discernment process?
That's all good questions.
Just pick whichever one you want. I put about 40 in there, so.
Yeah, I'm just, well, first off, a gift of being in the hospital was meeting the head ICU nurse who came to my room the night after surgery and said, you are not assigned to me, but I just wanted to tell you we've got a great team here, and we're here to take care of everyone. And I hope, just let us know. And he was so kind. He just was like, he's probably my age, but such a big presence.
Yeah.
He just, like sunshine, walked in the room.
I love that.
And I was kind of curious about the rising COVID cases.
Sure, of course you are.
And he said, we're starting to see that here. It's not the wave that we anticipate, but it's showing up a little bit. So this was June of 2020. And by Christmas, he had passed away. He contracted COVID serving the people in the hospital. Yep.
Gosh.
And so, anyway, I don't know why that came to me, except for this, life is, somebody that seems like they're in a compromised position physically, emotionally, whatever, that script can flip very quickly.
You're right.
But mostly what I just felt like the whole world shut down. I didn't feel like I was having to decide what shut down.
Yeah.
In the touring world, it was the first thing to go, the last thing to come back.
That's right.
And we have we have like a small community that operates out of our home that's been a part of life my entire adult life. And all of the weeks that nobody was here except for Vince and me and our daughter Karina, what I really felt was you have a lot of people who help keep everything going. I'm the beneficiary of a loving, helpful community that helps me get everything accomplished. And I've never worked that hard doing all of the details. It must be like, the traveling father that comes home on the weekends and plays with the kids and leaves again, and then the mother leaves for a week.
Yeah, right.
and he's like, oh my God.
Totally.
Yeah. I think I just never realized how many people helped me do what I do.
That's great.
And so, that awareness. Another way of saying that is I came face to face with all of my true limitations.
Totally.
And so my way of being easy on myself is to say, don't try to do so much.
Yeah.
And
Are you good at that or bad at that? The
I don't
doing
know.
too much bit.
I think I do too much, but I have good energy and I'm interested in a lot of things, and I just, having a purpose makes me feel good about the day.
Yeah.
And I don't know how this sounds, but I like doing things that I can see have a palpable impact on other people in a helpful way. So
sounds amazing. And I know that's a lot of my motivation too. And that's, I think sometimes at least for me, one of the reasons why sometimes I struggle to decide what stays and what goes, because I virtually don't have any opportunities on my plate or any ideas percolating my brain that are bad. Like everything is good. Everything is for someone else's good or for the community, or it's something exciting to be a part of, or it's like a collaboration that I really respect. So it's almost like I have too many good things to choose from, which makes it harder because they're not so obviously on their face like, well, this is a terrible opportunity.
Right.
And so my default valve is a yes. And so I'm learning to toggle that down. I think when I was younger, I thought, if I don't say yes to everything, it'll all stop. It'll just all dry up. It won't keep coming. It's my yeses that kind of keep the energy moving forward. But I found that that's not true at all. That was just a fake story that it was just a scarcity mindset. And so I'm learning that for sure. But so this is, I love to kind of hear that you're back in the studio. How do you feel? How's your recovery? I've never had heart surgery. I don't know how it feels in your body.
Yeah. Well, I had to sort of be still for a long time, like from January until the surgery in June. He was like, don't go run, just kind of lay low. So I didn't just sit there, but I didn't do things that I would normally do.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go on a bike ride. Hey, let's go do this. Hey, let's go. And then after they say 12 to 14 weeks of recovery, I truly felt like I was in the worst shape I'd ever been in my whole life. I was like, I have no muscle, like none. Yeah. So, and it takes a while to get that back again. So I'm right now just enjoying feeling my stamina come back, and that, singing is a pretty physical job.
Totally.
And so you don't think about it, but, so I'm watching that come back and just trying to be patient with myself. And
that's true. I didn't think about that. Has this affected kind of like your breath capacity, and in addition to your stamina, just being able to power through a 2-hour set or whatever it is?
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Yeah.
I'm getting there. But Yeah, but just in general, I feel better.
Yeah.
I feel like, I was like a machine that had an engine that had a lot of stops and starts and clunks and all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. That's gone.
That's
So
great.
the engine's purring, but,
That's
the
fantastic.
rest of the car needs a tune-up.
Totally.
Yeah.
So you're in the studio right now. What are you working on? Are you writing new things? What are you doing?
Not really. No. At this point, am asked, hey, will you be a part of this tribute record? Will you sing a song on this project? And, so I'm kind of ticking off, not a long list, but people who've asked me to participate on their projects. And then next week I'm back in full-time band rehearsals, and then it'll just be the road after that. until January 1. I'll just be living
you're
out
a
of a
pro.
suitcase.
You know the rhythm. You know the road rhythm. It'll probably be
I
nice
do.
to be back. We've missed each other. I'm so hungry to be in a room full of people, having a shared experience, like listening to music together, being in a conference setting together. It's, I think that's one lovely gift that the pandemic has given most of us. Absolute new appreciation for what it means to be together.
Yep.
And I'm so excited for you.
Sisters, I want to talk about the F word today. Finances. Yes, I said it. Finances. The first time I ever sat down in my accountant's office was last year in the midst of my divorce, and the work of just crawling through everything, account by account, bill by bill, is something I never want to face again. So I streamlined and switched and set up new things and saved, and I got it all worked out. And as it turns out, I'm pretty good at this. I knew I could figure it out, and I know you can too. But I also had a lot of help from my friends in every category. And one of those friends in this financial world told me about Chime. Their tagline is banking that has your back. And I was sold. I will not deny that I can be swayed by good marketing, but Chime actually really does have your back. They were founded on the premise that basic banking services should be helpful, easy, and free. They partner with regional banks to design member-first financial products. That means you get better, lower-cost options. And who doesn't want that, right? I'm going to tell you about just a few of the Chime features I love. They have fee-free overdraft on up to $200 in debit purchases with SpotMe. It's like overdraft protection, but better. There are no hidden fees or monthly minimums. Plus, they have more than 60,000 fee-free ATMs at locations like Walgreens and 7-Eleven and CVS and more. You can turn on security alerts to let you know when your card is used and instantly block your card if something seems off. And when you sign up for a Chime spending account, you can enroll in an optional savings account and grow your savings automatically with a 0.50 annual percentage yield. You guys, that is 10 times the national average. If you're taking a fine-tooth comb to your finances, get in on this and join the millions on Chime. Sign up takes 2 minutes and doesn't affect your credit score. Apply now at chime.com/forthelove. That's chime.com/forthelove. Chime is a financial technology company. Banking services provided by the Bancorp Bank or Stride Bank, N.A. Members FDIC. Eligibility requirements and overdraft limits apply. Overdraft only applies to debit card purchases. Limits start at $20 and may be increased up to $200 by Chime. Early direct deposit depends on the payer. Out-of-network cash withdrawal fees apply. Third-party and cash deposit fees may apply. Go to chime.com/forthelove for details.
Okay, Amy, I'm going to ask you the last couple of questions, and I'm kind of asking all my guests in the Flip the Script series this.
Okay.
And so just top of your head.
Quick.
For you, what is maybe one of the most important things that you get out of switching things up every once in a while when you do it on purpose?
Always seeing things from a different perspective. Flipping it could mean just asking somebody else, how do you see this? What would you do? Especially somebody. What does this look like from your vantage point? I mean, the other day I was leaving the farm. I met a young woman years ago, and we've we've only been in the same space 5 times, but she was visiting from New York, and I said, hey, let's meet out at our farm. She wanted to do that. We have a short amount of time, and I just find her beautiful, and I wanted to hear about her life. And then we're leaving the farm, and there are 4 steer, cows in the driveway.
Okay.
And she's in the car in front of me. So I'm like, stop, don't push those out onto the road.
Yeah.
Would you mind?
Yeah.
Would you mind just stopping right where you are? And I'm going to call somebody to come in from the other way so we can kind of corral these animals.
Okay.
And she said, can I come sit in your car? And I said, yes. And she did. Anyway, her name's Chelsea. She's a beautiful young black woman. Mm-hmm. We had our visit, and we had unexpected time because there were animals in the road. And I said, what was it like for you being in school when you were a kid? Mm. And she said, I was just one of very few black kids in my school, mostly white. She said, I've wondered if I ever have children, would I do that to them? I don't know. And what I appreciated about that when I left that conversation, I thought, I am grateful for the big script switch that we've all experienced of saying, ask different questions.
Me too.
Ask different questions. And anyway,
that's great.
So, yeah, I think, the next step, the next opportunity, the next enlightenment, the next everything for all of us is within reach. It always has been.
Yeah.
And so,
that's hopeful. That's positive.
Yeah,
I love that. I'm right there with you. I'm right in line with that. I love that answer. How about this, Amy? So what familiar or comfortable or comforting thing or thought, whatever, do you hang on to when you are in the upside down part of a flip, when it's kind of like the free fall, and you're not to the other side of it yet, you're not to the solution, you're not to what comes after, kind of in the upheaval? What do you hang on to that keeps you centered, that keeps you calm, that carries you through to the other side?
I guess the mantra in my head is all will be well, all manner of things will be well. And but what I do is I usually go outside, and I usually lie down near a tree and look up.
Me too.
I do that all the time. I've got one of those round swings, and it's big enough it can cradle the back of my head and get to the top of my legs, so I can actually relax totally. And that's more, I do that more than anything, I just go and look up in a tree and go, everyone is different. There's no pattern, and clearly there's a pattern everywhere. When I feel like I can't see the pattern in my life, I can't see, it's just it's all will be well. And then I just get out in nature, really.
My therapist taught me to do that. And she said, if you can, take your shoes off. Let's get your feet in the grass, in the ground, literally get grounded, literally. And don't force it. Just let it be. Let it do what it does. I was like, oh, golly, okay. And now I'm a person who lays under the tree with my bare feet, and it's like a miracle.
It changes you.
It does what it does.
Yep,
yeah,
it really
does what it does. And all of a sudden it's been 45 minutes and I'm just looking at leaves and I'm looking at the clouds, and I've got somehow back into my body, and I can hear things again, and I can feel it all. And by golly, if that is not an actual really good practice for environment.
Yeah. And here's something else, like with bird song, you hear bird song, and always what I come away from those moments is going, if you're going, I don't know my purpose, I failed in this, to go, I don't know if there's any, we are designed to be appreciators. and to notice and to, yeah. And I don't know why that felt so like such an enlightened thing to say, but to awareness of the beauty around us.
Absolutely, because we're designed to be appreciators, which is, I love that you just said that word. I won't forget that. Appreciating things does bring us back into alignment. It does.
It does.
There's something whole and intentional about living like that we were probably always meant to. Okay, and here's the last one. I asked you this the last time you were on the show, and I should have gone back. I don't remember what you said last time. I think what you said the last time you were on the show was you were enjoying the last little bit before your youngest was flying the coop. But the question is, and it can be whatever it is right now. It can be earnest or it can be silly. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
What is saving your life right now?
Oh, this is not today. I've kind of taken a little break from this, but a game changer for me from my birthday last November until the beginning of the summer was this little book that my sister gave me called the 5-Minute Journal.
Okay.
It's put out by a company called Intellichange. And anyway, so it's all about brain priming. And that when our brains are primed for something, and I'm all into brain work. I have a whole other career where I'm invested in a brain company for non-invasive healing. We'll talk about that some other time.
Woo.
And so what I continue to say is how am I priming my brain to experience this day? And this journal, I mean, is so quick. It really takes about 2 minutes. I keep it in the bathroom. And it's just little short lines that you fill in the morning and you fill out at night. But it's an exercise in priming your brain to see the good. And the real shocker for me is, and they kind of explain how to do it, but at the end of every day, it's just 3 lines. 4 lines. What made 3 amazing things that happened today? And inevitably, the amazing thing is not something big. It's not, I reached that goal. The scale number said lower than yesterday. You know what it is? It'd be like, I thought about my daughter right at the minute that she was on her way to some, and I joined her. This song came on the radio. The person in the checkout line was so kind to me. Like when you really have to stop and go 3 things that made today amazing. And guess what? The stuff that makes the day amazing is like
small.
It's small. And then when you think about them at the end of the day, and the last thing says, what would you have done differently? And you have to say in present tense as though you had done it the right way. And so like and I can't explain it, but it makes you, rather than beating yourself up, why didn't I ask my friend about her children? I just went on and on and on about something, and then the time was gone. Instead, to write, I so appreciate being part of my friend's life, and her children matter to me. I ask her about them frequently. And I'm telling you, you prime your brain like that, because beating yourself up, that just goes nowhere.
You're right.
But my sister gave me that book and she said, my son is carrying this around like a Bible. And she said, I'm giving my 1 copy to you. And if you'll give me your address there at your main hideaway, I will put it in the mail today.
Okay. Are you serious? Because I am all the way intrigued. I'm hanging on your every word right now, thinking about this tiny little exercise that can make monumental change.
It's tiny. It is so tiny. And to me, anything that's like a tiny change that makes a monumental change, that's hope has entered the room.
You're right.
With flying colors. So that's been the 5-Minute Journal. And one's going to be on its way to you tonight.
God, we saved that for the end. That's so great. I like that because that type of practice and possibility is available to anybody. That's not expensive. It's not it doesn't take too much time. You don't have to be in an elite space to have access to that kind of healing or leadership. So that's fantastic. Thank you for that. Well,
Sure.
I am just so happy to see you, Amy. I'm so happy that you're recovered and that you're about to hit the road again. I am number one in line for loving you for all of our days. When I got to meet you at Wild Goose a few years ago, I just about died. I just about died. I just thought I need to be resuscitated. I don't know if I can recover. And then just to have known you ever since, it's like so special. So thanks for coming on the show and just being who you are. Your gentle, like calming way makes me want to lay my head in your lap and just take a nap. I love
I
it so
love,
much. I love
oh,
you.
thank you. I love you too. You, my little sister, are a force of nature.
Thank you. Yeah.
It takes all kinds.
Uh-huh.
It does. And
It does, for good or for bad. It sure does. Oh,
does,
that's great.
yeah.
Okay. Well, until next time, until I see you, I hope the next time's in person.
I do too.
I hope that you're
Enjoy
gonna.
Maine.
I love everything here. And so, if your tour bus heads toward Texas, I'll see you there.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay. See you,
Bye.
my friend.
So I took away several pretty big takeaways from that conversation. I find myself so drawn to the way that Amy is in the world. Do you know what I mean? Kind of the way she moves through the world. I mean, I was digging and pulling, trying to get her to tell me how terrifying open heart surgery was and how scared she was. And she just doesn't lean into histrionics like that at all. She's just steady and calm, and her integrity just rises up in the good and in the bad and in the hard and in the scary. And it's really a marvel to watch. I mean, I was sitting here talking to her the whole time thinking, how can I be more like Amy? How can I just dial all this down some notches and be more grounded and centered and present and grateful? She's such a good role model. As always, we will have all this over at jenhatmaker.com under the podcast tab. You'll find the episode. You'll find a link to the YouTube channel if you'd like to watch our conversation. We'll have show notes. And then, of course, links to all things Amy Grant if you'd like to follow her and see her work and see what she's up to. And so you can get that all in one place. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being really invested in this series. We are too. We are too. When I just tell you that it is just phenomenal guest after phenomenal guest in this one. You're going to be really excited. Do not miss any of them. So by the way, thanks for subscribing to the podcast. If you haven't already done it, go click it wherever you listen to podcasts. And that way we'll show up in your inbox every single week. You won't even have to try for us. We'll just be there for you. You won't miss any. And if you have missed some in the series, go back and listen to them because they're worth your time. Thanks for being an incredible podcast community. We really and sincerely love you so much. So on behalf of Laura, my producer, and her whole entire amazing team, and Amanda and I, we're just thrilled to serve you every single week. It's our joy to bring this podcast to you, these conversations, constantly wanting to energize this community and inspire and lead and entertain. And so thanks for being here week in and week out. All right, you guys, see you next week.